I often get asked when I share my art online what art supplies I use, and since I've been creating art for most of my life, I have tried and collected many art supplies, ranging in quality, price, and medium. So today I thought I would share with you my favorite and most used art supplies. I will also have a link in the video description to my Amazon storefront where you can find all of these. Okay, so starting off, I figured we would go ahead and start with my favorite sketching supplies, since sketching is important to all artists. And my go-to favorite sketching supply is the Staedtler Mars mechanical pencil. I like this one because you can get a lot of variety out of it, and I use it for both just basic sketching and for the under drawings in my finished work. And as you can see, I can get pretty light lines, and I can also get like bold, dark lines from it, so it's just very versatile. And since you don't have to worry about sharpening it, it's a really good on-the-go option. I also really love sketching with these Prismacolor Call Erase pencils. I have them in a bunch of different colors. I like these because I just think it's super fun to sketch in color, and it's really cool because they are erasable. So if you need to, you can erase them. They're also a really affordable option. Something else I've been getting really into lately is ink sketching, and kind of on a whim, I picked up these disposable zebra fountain pens. These are really cool to me, just because they're like calligraphy pens, but since you don't have to worry about refilling them, I think they're a little bit better for beginners and on the go. And you can get a lot of different line varieties from these. So you can see also with these I can get really precise thin lines, and I can darken things. And I ended up liking these so much, I actually bought them in a few different colors, which is fun that they come in all these different colors. And I also use artist pens. I think I missed one of mine. To do ink sketching, I have both the Faber-Castell Pitt artist pens, and I have these Micron pens. The Microns are the ones that I started with, and honestly, they're pretty comparable to each other, but I found that I personally prefer the Pitt pens a bit more. I do think they tend to last a bit longer, and I feel like the ink is a little bit darker. But both of these have India ink in them, so they are water resistant and smudge resistant, archival quality. So I've really grown to like both of these. And I really enjoy ink sketching because you have to be a lot more precise and thought out with your lines, which I think is great when you're working on improving your drawing skills. And when I'm doing ink drawing, I like to incorporate some different markers just to get some good washes fast. It's really convenient for shading. And I'll talk a little bit later about what my favorite markers are to use, but you can see here I have some Copics, and I have these Arteza Everblend markers, and I'll talk more about them in a little bit here. And lastly, I have these white Sakura jelly pens, the Jelly Roll pens. I absolutely love these. If you haven't tried these, I strongly recommend it. They're really great for adding highlights onto just about any medium. And then I guess we may as well talk about these markers now. I really only started getting into markers in the past year or so, and I have both, like I said, the Copics and the Arteza Everblend markers. The Copics, let me just tell you, I'm a millennial, and the grip these markers had on us, they're kind of like the OG alcohol markers, and I do really love them, but they are very expensive, which is why I only have a pretty limited set of them. And then these Arteza Everblend markers, they're also alcohol based like the Copics are. They have two nibs on them. The only thing I don't really like about them is that they have the bullet nib instead of the brush nib, and I do prefer the brush nib for blending. But they are a much more affordable option, and since I mostly use them for doing underpaintings to my colored pencil work these days, it doesn't really bother me that much that it is the nib. I have done a few just marker pieces with these as well, and I did enjoy using them, and I've usually used them on this mixed media paper that I'm demonstrating on now. So you can see here, there's the chisel tip on the Arteza and the bullet tip. And then I tried to find a Copic that I had a similar color to one of the Arteza ones. Oh, that is not the color I thought it was. But here is the chisel tip on the Copics, and then the brush tip. Something I have noticed about the Arteza too is they do tend to be a little bit brighter and more pigmented, at least the ones I have. But yeah, I really like both of these markers. The art supply I definitely get asked about most is what colored pencils I use, and that makes sense, I guess, since I am mostly a colored pencil artist. And here's the type of work I do right now with colored pencils. So I get asked this question a lot on social media, and I'm gonna be honest, for the style I do right now, I don't think it really matters that much which brand you use, as long as you're using artist grade pencils. Back when I did realism pet portraits, I was really specific about using my polychromos pencils because they worked a lot better for the technique that I used, which was mainly blending with mineral spirits. But now that I do a little bit more of an illustrative style and I don't blend, it doesn't matter as much. However, the polychromos are still my favorite. I just like them because they're really pigmented and smooth. And I think the quality is really good on them. I also have a ton of, let me find them here. Of course, the classic Prismacolors. These are the pencils I started out with when I started really getting into colored pencils around the time that I was in high school. And I bought a big set of these because they were the easiest to access, and I think they still probably are. They're also, I think, a little bit more affordable than the polychromos. But I do find them to be a little bit waxier and honestly not quite as pigmented, but really my big issue with these is that I think they have some quality control issues. Mostly that the lead tends to break in them. As you can see, this one pencil I have, the lead came completely out, so I had to tape it over the top. But they're still fine, and I know a lot of people love using them. I still use them a ton in my art. And then the other pencil I use a lot is the Caran d'Ache Luminance. I don't have as many of these because they are a little bit more expensive than the other ones, but they are really opaque, and I found that they're really good for adding fine details and kind of those top layers. And I especially love the white. Sorry, you can see that my cat, I think, chewed on this one, but my other ones are really short because I use them so much, so. But this one's great because since it's opaque, you can use it pretty easily on top of other colors and other mediums to add highlights or to lighten things up. And of course, we have to talk about erasers. I think there are two classics. So I have my dust-free eraser that to me is a just absolute must-have. I've used both the Faber-Castell and the Staedtler one. I just don't have any Staedtler ones on hand right now, but I found they're pretty similar. It's really good to have, let me just find the pencil, a dust-free eraser because it won't smudge your work, and it's really easier to clean up because it's not leaving so much debris behind. So as you can see, that erases pretty well. I also think everyone should have a kneaded eraser. These are so important for lightening up your work. You can use them to lighten graphite, charcoal, colored pencil. And they're also good because since you can shape them, you can get different little details out of them. Since I work mostly in pencil, I actually have a few other erasers I really like to use as well. I have an electric eraser. Some people love these, some people don't. I love to have an electric eraser. These are great for when you really need to remove a dark area. As you can see, they lightened up that colored pencil quite a bit, and they get through charcoal and graphite really easily. You do just need to be careful with these because if you overuse them, they can damage your paper. I also have, let's see, these are the Mono Zero erasers. I have both the square one and the round one, and these are really great for adding fine details to your art. And for cleaning up precise areas, so I really like them for that. As you can see too, I just used my drafting brush to get rid of those eraser crumbles, another must-have for me. And not really an eraser, but I kind of count it as one. I like to keep an X-Acto knife on hand, kind of for the same thing as those precision ones, but they're just really great, especially with colored pencil work, for scraping out little details. These will absolutely damage your paper though. So I like to only do this at the end when I'm kind of done drawing everything else. But they're good for like scraping out details and then going over. Let me use this pencil with white if you want an area to be really light. Also, please don't injure yourself with one of those. Okay, so I almost forgot to mention graphite pencils. And I forgot about these because, to be honest, I don't use them as much anymore as I used to. When I was in high school and a little bit in college, like back when DeviantArt was the big thing, I was so into realism graphite. So I used graphite pencils so much. Now I really only use them to do studies. I think I actually have some examples in here. Let's see. Yeah, like this. But my favorites are absolutely the Staedtler Mars Lumograph pencils. These, hands down to me, are just the absolute best graphite pencils, and graphite is not as expensive as colored pencils, so these are good to have on hand for both sketching and illustrations and studies. And as you can see, they come in a bunch of different hardnesses, so you can get a lot of variety. Let's see. So this is a 2H. We got, let's do a 2B. These are so good for if you're trying to do like tonal studies or just like practice your values. Let's go, this 8B is clearly very loved. Y'all, look how dark that is. Okay, so anyways, I love these. I just want to mention those. And when I use those, I also like to use some blending stumps like these. I think they're also called tortillions sometimes. These are all pretty dirty. Look, and you can just blend. Yeah. All right, so now that we've talked about the different mediums I've used, let's talk about paper. So I have a bunch of different types of sketchbooks that I use. I literally actually have like a whole entire like storage bin full of different sketchbooks. I have tried so many different papers, and these are the ones that I have come to love the most after a lot of trial and error and experiment. So let's just start off with, when I'm doing just like really basic sketching, and I don't need like a good quality paper, I will literally just use like any cheap sketchbook paper. So these are just for like little fast doodles and studies. It really doesn't matter to me what paper I'm using, so. But when I'm doing more like in-depth studies or like full drawings or illustrations, I really like to use Canson mixed media paper, and I have a few different ones. The Canson XL I feel like is a classic. That's actually what this one is too. But I have it in a few different sizes. So this works really well. Like I said earlier, I do a lot of like mixed media now where it's marker and colored pencil, and this is really great for that. And it holds up well to ink. I haven't really tried it with watercolor, but I've heard that it holds up pretty well with that as well. And then I have, this is also Canson Mixed Media. I think this is more like their artist grade one. Yeah, artist series. I don't think I have any actual drawings in here, but I use this a lot for marker, and it's also really good for colored pencil and ink as well. And then this is, all of these are Canson. But this is also a Canson Mixed Media sketchbook. This is the one I'm using for this year. The only thing I don't like about it is I don't like that this is a soft cover. Because then I kind of have to, like, there's no, I don't know, I kind of have to like bend these pages over to draw on them. But as you can see, this holds up really well for the marker and colored pencil as well. These are like full marker, just colored pencil. So yeah, I've really been liking this one. And then this past year, I started experimenting more with toned paper. I like it a lot for doing those ink studies because then you have like a medium ground already for them. These are like the Strathmore Tone Tan are my favorites right now. But I especially love them for doing just straight up colored pencil work. They're a little bit smoother than the mixed media, so you don't have to worry as much about like getting into the tooth. I've used them with markers too. I'll try and show one. And they're pretty good with that as well, but I also feel like they just make the colors look so vibrant. So yeah, those are the papers that I have been using. Okay, and then just a few other special mentions, some things that I really like are my pencil sharpeners. Again, since I am mostly a pencil artist, I like to have two different ones. I like to have a handheld sharpener. I particularly like the Stedletter one. It's got like the two different size holes. It is really good at getting a sharp point. And it's not, let's not use that one. And it's nice because it has this little container, so it's really good for on the go. You don't have to worry about cleaning up your pencil shavings. Look how sharp that is. But since hand sharpening everything is really time consuming and not great on my hands, I of course don't want to do that all the time. So I like to have my mechanical pencil sharpener. I just use this AFMAT one. I saw somebody recommended it once and I've used it for like, I don't know, like 4 years now, and I've never had any issues with it. It's rechargeable. It's got different settings. So you can do like a long point or a short point. And something that's really important with like colored pencils especially is to find a sharpener that isn't gonna break your lead. And I've never had any issues with this one, except of course with these guys. Let's see. It also has an automatic stop, which is good. So you can see it's not quite as pointy as when I do it with the handheld, but it's got like a pretty, for a mechanical sharpener, it's got a really pretty decent point on it. So I like that one a lot. And then also for my pencils, I love to have pencil extenders. These are the Derwent ones. And these are great for when you have your really short little pencils. Let me grab one here. I told you I love these white pencils. If I can get this one on, this one might be. I think these are two different sizes. I think this one's a little bit wider, so it's a little bit better for these wider pencils. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, see, and now I can comfortably use this pencil. Okay, and then the very last thing I want to talk about is fixative. This may seem a little bit random, but using fixative is so important, especially if you're using pencils, charcoals, anything like that that can smudge. It's going to help protect against smudging, and I like to use this fine art one because it also helps protect against UV light, which will help prevent your colors from fading. So if you want your art to last a long time, you want it to not get smudged or damaged, or you're selling original art or sending commissions, that sort of thing, even just to like preserve sketchbook pages, I like to use it sometimes. Don't skip on the fixative. Right guys, well that is everything for today. I would love to hear what your favorite art supplies are in the comments, and if you have any questions about any of the ones that I showed you here today, please let me know there as well. Also, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it, and if you're not already, please go ahead and give me a subscribe and turn on those notifications so that you don't miss any future videos. I'll see you in the next one, and until then, happy creating!